Craig Shoemaker's here. Dawson isn't, but Craig is. We got shows coming up. 2 shows.
Fine. We've never worked together.
I cannot wait, my friend. I was listening to you and your stuff driving my truck in the 80s on like the 5 o'clock
90s.
funnies.
Okay, let's not date it too much. No, there's no. It's definitely 90s. Yeah.
When did you first?
I moved out here in '88, and it started in like '92. Gino Michelini.
Yeah,
actually,
5 o'clock funnies.
Yeah, I should have. All
right, early '90s.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
yeah.
but you were doing stand-up in the '80s.
Oh, I was. Yeah. I started when I was 17, in Ava Tamini's backyard. I started. That was
Where?
For Ava Tamini. 2 doors down neighbor. I played her backyard.
When you said Ava Tamini and then you said Gino Michelini before, I thought like the Eenies, like you got in good with these guys.
I love the Eenies. Anybody Eenie?
Gino Michelini was a jock.
Yeah.
He was for KLOS.
And he had 5 o'clock funnies.
Yeah.
He made Tim Allen's career.
Oh, really?
100%. Absolutely.
Because he would play
played Tim Allen.
Right.
He played that, and it caught on, and the guy got a sitcom, and the rest is obviously history. I don't know if he tipped Gino on that. I should have as well.
Well, I would get into my truck. I love Gino Michelini because he would play. By the way, remember when Friday afternoon meant something?
Yeah.
See, now for me, Friday afternoon means I got to leave for Covina because I got to do 2 shows Friday and then 2 shows Saturday that nobody cares about. But Friday afternoon used to be Blowing the Whistle, Fred Flintstone. Everyone's working for the weekend. Like they wrote tons of songs about like, hey, during the week I'm this, that. But Friday, 5 o'clock, I'm gone, baby.
Right.
And I would hop in my truck on Friday.
Yabba dabba do.
And and he'd play I Don't Want to Work, I Want to Bang on the Drum All Day. Remember that song?
Yeah.
And I would get in my truck and be driving home on a Friday with $272 in my pocket from the week of swinging a hammer. Like, now, this is about me now. Yeah.
And then he delivered something which was true comic relief for your week.
Yeah, I'd listen to Craig.
5 o'clock funnies.
As a matter of fact, there's an equal amount of songs about Mondays being bummers. So we had Monday bummer songs, and then we had Friday jubilation songs, but now nobody works anymore.
Yeah.
Or they do, they work from home, or they work when they want, or they don't come in on Fridays, or they show up at noon, or they take 3-day weekends. So there's no more inspiration for bummer song Monday, happy song Friday.
Yeah, well, people are staying at home now. They're in their pajamas at work.
Right. All right, I have a thought.
Yeah.
You are uniquely qualified to answer, and then I know we got some dad crosstalk to get into. But I rewatched this clip of Posh Beckham, and she was doing a doc with David Beckham, and she was trying to downgrade her luxurious upbringing into middle class, right? And it's something I've been obsessed with a lot. Mm-hmm. And when I was young, people turned it the other direction. They went, we have to keep up appearances. You know what I mean? And so people say, this guy's father's one of the Rothschilds, and he's a well-respected businessman in his community, and he's got a gold nugget watch, and he drives a Mercedes-Benz. Maybe he couldn't afford the watch or the Mercedes-Benz, but he liked the appearances of it, And there was, all throughout history, they would pad their resume, People would talk about, my father was very important, and he was a pillar of the community, and he was well respected, and they'd sort of blow a little smoke, And if the kid, they might lie about going to a better college, they might lie about degrees or whatever it is, but they padded their resume. Now it's, we're lower middle class, and I worked at
McDonald's. That's what she's claiming? The Beckhams are lower middle class?
Well, not now. I'm saying growing. No, you can't pull it off in real time.
No. Okay.
You fly private. You live in, 17,000 square feet in Malibu. No one tries to pull it off in real time. I'm saying they try to pull it off as far as their past.
And Kamala goes down that road as well.
Poorwashing, I think it's called.
Poor washing?
I just made that.
Good. Well, no, let's look at Kamala. She's running for president. Okay.
Yeah.
She went to a prestigious university, and both her parents were professors at the prestigious university.
She repeats over and over, though, that it was
and she was in Oakland for a period of time, but then she moved to like Montreal and went to an elite prep school. So what do we know about her? We know she's middle class. How do we know she's middle class? If somebody asked her, are you for recycling cans and bottles? She says, I grew up middle class. That's the first thing that comes out of her mouth.
They're great montages.
If somebody said, who do you like in the Super Bowl? Like San Francisco or Kansas City? Well, I grew up middle class. I mean, that's when a cop pulls her over and says license and registration, she says, I grew up middle class.
Right,
When the gynecologist, all right. So why does somebody whose parents were college professors in an elite college keep saying that? And then why is she willing herself into a job at McDonald's that she never had? And why is she from Oakland, and no discussion about prep school in Montreal?
Ace, you know the answer. It's
right, I know the answer. We're calling it poor washing?
Poor washing.
Okay.
I like that.
So I'll show you this clip. It's only 28 seconds long, but what is she doing?
We're very working class.
Working
Be
class.
honest.
I am being honest. I am being
What car
honest.
did your dad drive you to school in?
So my dad
No,
did.
one answer.
My dad.
What car was it?
All right, it's not a simple answer
What
because
car did you get your dad to drive
it
you to
depends.
school in? No.
Okay,
What
in the
car?
80s,
What?
my dad had a Rolls Royce.
All right. That's right.
Wow. Wait, that was David Beckham making her?
Yeah.
Nice.
Getting heckled by her husband.
So you guys,
I like that.
I love that.
All your middle class friends' dads drove my buddy Ray. His dad drove a Toyota Corona wagon, and his mom had a Datsun Honeybee. The biggest miniature, like a 210 Honeybee. I mean, just shit box, Japanese shit boxes, both of them. My buddy Crit, my two best buddies had dad. Well, one just drove a truck, a Silverado truck. His dad was a transmission guy, and the mom drove like a Pacer or something. So there wasn't a lot of Rolls Royces or Bentleys on the block. But what is she doing? She's rounding down. She's poor washing.
Right.
That's the new world order. Why would she do that? Why wouldn't you say, hey, my dad was real successful?
Well, the reason is relatability. They think that it's relatable,
Right.
as opposed to let me show you how to get to success so you can get there as well.
But when Emmy, you can find a chapter in my book. I think it's in 50 Years Will All Be Chicks, but it may be not Taco Bell material. I'm telling the story of the hypothetical, the father and the son walking, and the guy goes by in the Mercedes or the Cadillac, and now they want to throw a rock at him. They're in there. I think it's Mercedes. But anyway, all right. So then I started thinking about it, and I thought, what year did the Spice Girls form? I went and looked it up. Show prep.
93?
94. Not bad, but it makes me think you're gay now.
It made me think it as well.
93,
I looked
94.
right at Mayhem when I said
were being
that, too.
pumped all over Gino
What'd you think of that?
Michelini's show back then.
Oh, my God.
All right. So the band forms in 94.
Okay.
94 was a different time. It was cool to have a Rolex watch and a Rolls Royce and own it, right?
She named herself Posh.
Posh. She
Right.
named herself Posh. Now, I looked up the definition of posh.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
show prep and super
This
board.
is research
Super
beyond
board
Craig does his work.
beyond my scope
you have
of
the
reason.
definition of, we'll put it on the,
Yeah, you could say a lot of things about Carolla,
In a
but he's
refined,
well
yeah,
researched.
upper class way. That's what I would think.
in a refined or upper class way,
Right.
elegant, stylish, luxurious. It's all stuff that has to do with money.
Right.
And she named herself that back when it was in vogue to do that. Now it's not cool to be that. So she's trying to claim poverty. She's poor washing now, which is interesting. I don't fucking like it. I don't like it. I think the message to the poor people is, yeah, I got money.
Yeah.
You could have money too.
Yeah.
But you got to work a little harder and you got to be a little smarter. And don't use that money on tattoos. Use it on a nursing class. You could take that night and fucking pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get your shit together. Not me pretending I'm poor and then going back to my mansion. That's not going to help you.
Yeah.
I would like to tell you I do well and you should come join me. But I got there through a bunch of hard work and working free and working weekends.
Yeah.
So come on down. That's my message.
There could be a message in there, even how she named herself Posh.
Yeah.
Was that an affirmation? Was that a the law of attraction type of thing where she says that and then it will manifest?
Her
don't know.
dad dropped her off at school in a Rolls Royce,
Yeah,
so I'm guessing that was always kind of
super
her.
comfortable, and then she like made herself
Her
into
life.
even more super comfortable. Yeah, she figured it out. She hacked the system by hacking the system.
Then she married a guy.
That's
who's
what I'm
really
saying.
wealthy.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, I mean, well, she had Spice Girl money, so you can't really deal with that.
My next go around, I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah, me too.
I keep
but-
going. My last wife was. I got divorced since I've seen you last.
Oh,
by the way.
what? Sorry to hear that, bud.
She lived in a tree house. That should have been my indication. She had to walk to her bathroom about 40 yards through the woods.
She lived
In a tree house in Topanga. And I didn't see this as a clue.
Really?
She might have me earmarked.
Anytime someone has to use a rope ladder to go out on a date, that's a sign.
Yeah, I remember when I came home
Wait,
one
did
time.
she get half the treehouse?
No, you mean in the divorce?
Yeah.
She got half my jokes. I have to. All I got was the setups.
Oh my god.
So a priest and a rabbi walk into a bar.
You got no punch.
You want the rest?
She
You
stole
got to
the
call
punch.
her.
What do you mean lived in a treehouse?
I'm not exaggerating. I know comedians exaggerate. She literally lived in a treehouse, and she had to go to the bathroom like it was like
Ooh, well, let me-
40
all right.
yards away.
Well, let me stop. By the way,
Yeah.
if I lived in a treehouse, I would never have to leave it to go to the bathroom, whether it had a
Yeah,
bathroom
what the
or not. The number one advantage of living
Hang
in
your
a
ass
treehouse.
over that railing.
Number one. Number
Well,
two.
one. About number two. I'm not going to go
Number
number
two.
two in my own place.
They say it rolls downhill. All right, which it doesn't. That's the worst saying ever. Shit rolls downhill.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Many things roll downhill.
I don't know about. I've never seen
Shit does
go
not
down-
roll downhill.
No, unless it's very tubular.
Yeah.
But so
So, all right,
Okay.
let me say this. The treehouse
yeah.
is much like the lunch truck. When I was young and I worked construction, the lunch truck was called the Roach Coach, and you got shitty cold sandwiches off it, and it sucked.
Yeah.
Now there's Kobe beef, soft taco, gourmet, everything, lunch truck. So saying we ate off a lunch truck doesn't mean anything to a 22-year-old now. They go, cool, right? Tree houses were tree houses back in the day.
Right.
Now they
With a
start
rope swing,
doing
yeah.
all of these luxury, there's TV shows on it, they're high-end, whatever. So what kind of tree house was
This was not that.
It was not that.
This was pre that. This is 20 years ago.
So there's like 6 pieces of
We
plywood.
got together. We got together. Like we met at a spiritual center. She actually said to me, "Do you know it's spiritual to fart?" I go, "Well, you married the Dalai Lama. You're good. Get under the covers and give me a touch up, and you'll be praying all right." But she was literally a hippie and lived in this treehouse, and that's where she wanted to be. Until she got into my beautiful home and got into the tub, which was bigger than her whole place. I'll never forget. I came home and she was in the bubble bath. I
And
go,
you're like, yeah.
But it's a rescue thing for me. I'm a rescuer. I've
you can
always
take a monkey out the treehouse, but you can't. I don't know.
Treehouse,
you
that's a
can't
monkey.
monkey
I
around
don't
with
know.
the monkey.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I come from an area of, I'm a rescuer. I did it with my mom. I tried to fix her up with guys. I used to write letters, I'm not kidding you, to celebrities. I look at baseball cards. I could care what they hit. I looked for marital status. I could still tell you who was married. Mike Schmidt was married to Donna Schmidt. Larry Bow was married to Shayna Bow. I discard their cards. I found Tim McCarver.
Tim
I
McCarver.
said, look, he's single, Mom. He's Irish. You're Irish. She goes, he doesn't want me. I wrote him a letter. I said, you should meet my mom.
Yeah.
You're going to not be a bachelor anymore. And he
I
never
thought
wrote me back.
McCarver was gay.
Wow.
He was a catcher.
Thanks for that letdown.
He was a bottom.
I knew that about the other guy I wrote to, Paul Lynn. That I knew.
Oh, you wrote to Paul Lynn?
I wrote to him, too.
Wait, was McCarver a catcher?
Yes, he was a
All
catcher.
right. That means that. Come on. You do the math.
Oh, there it is.
Come on. He's a bottom.
Listen what happened, though. I told Joe Buck the story. That's his old-time friend. And next time I saw Joe Buck, he hands me a ball, and it says, "Dear son, time to grow up. Love, Dad." That's my favorite memorabilia ever. Paul Lynn never wrote me back.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was having a smart cocktail with the fellas by the pool.
Hollywood Squares said, "Paul, how many balls in a billiard tub? How many guys are playing?" I should have known. That might have been indication. I thought we were going to be the first father and son team on the Hollywood Squares. Like, Craig and Paul Lynn for the win, please. Take it, son. It's a sports question.
I'll give you a Paul Lynn setup, right? But I'll give you the punchline.
Okay.
Your punchline in your best Paul Lynn voice is ignore it and keep on driving.
Okay.
All right, I'll be the host.
Okay, here we go. Peter Marshall.
I'll be Peter Marshall of Hollywood Squares. Paul, what do you do with a lady finger?
Ignore it and keep on going.
Driving.
Driving.
But, all right,
I
kind of heard it a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's try it again. You ready?
Good.
We'll get it. We'll clean it up in post. You ready?
I was too into the character.
Nah, I know. You were right there. It's just the going.
Okay.
Turned it down. Okay, ready?
Okay. Hi, Peter.
Paul.
Yes. I love being in this box. It's the only one I'll ever be in.
Paul, what do you do with a lady finger?
Ignore it and keep on driving.
Paul Lynn, everybody.
Yeah, even had the D for the driving. It was
my grandfather, who was a good dude, but maybe infected by the Carollas. He used to sit home in his North Hollywood 1,200 square foot home, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and he'd watch that and he'd go, "That Paul Lynn, he's so quick. He's so fast. Who could be that fast with these punchlines, over and over?"
That's what you thought.
That's what.
Until we ended up on the show.
Right. That's what Laszlo Gorak thought. And he adored the show. And one day I told him I was doing the show I grew up watching him be delighted by. And I was like, "Grandpa, guess who's on the Hollywood Squares? Me." And he was like, "Okay." I was like, "We got nothing more than that?"
Wow.
Like something about, whoa, can you imagine when you're 11, we'd watch that? Now you're on it?
Right.
Like, not a peep. Just, all right. It was the weirdest.
That is the strangest thing. Even hearing it now, I can't believe that would be the reaction.
There were all,
some people
my
have a hard time.
Family was infected with that stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I have the same thing. Yeah.
Well, I want to get into it, but one other thing I want to get into that I don't understand. Like, I don't understand people in sort of basic stuff and sort of linear things that just kind of make sense. You know what I'm saying? And in a bigger picture, when the politicians start making horrible policies, defund the police. Okay, you don't know how this is going to turn out. You don't know how this is going to work. But all right. I realized that I'm in Malibu. I'm off of PCH. And 61, I think, people have died on PCH in the last decade. And they have a whole white tire memorial on PCH. And I mean, it's crazy how many people die on PCH. And I'm driving down PCH every day, and I just see guys on bicycles just off to the right going, 16 miles an hour, and cars are going by 55. And I'm like, this is insane.
Right.
You're going to get killed in a minute. All someone has to do is text or their phone. They look down for a millisecond. Everyone's high. No one can drive. Everyone's staring at their phone. You're going to get clipped, and you have no protection. You're wearing basically shorts and a t-shirt. This is not going to work out well for you. So the other day, I was pulling onto PCH, and also cyclists do not stop traditionally for red lights. They hit it, especially if you're in residential, on a stoplight. I should say on a stop sign.
Right.
It's a side theory of mine. Like I lived in a neighborhood where there's a lot of cycling and like a 4-way stop sign.
Yeah.
And the cyclists would just blow through it, 8 at a time. They never even touched the brakes.
Wow.
But here's the thing. Here's what I realized about it. when you are riding a bicycle, you are creating the energy and the inertia. That is your energy. That's your calories. That's your work that got you there, and you brake. When you're driving a car, it's not really you.
No.
I mean, you pay for it, but you didn't break a sweat getting the car moving that fast. And then I thought, when you're the government and you're just spending people's money, it's got nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? You're all just being pushed by the wind through the stop sign of life. Like when it's your shit, your energy, your effort that created that movement, you do not want to scrub it off by braking. You just hate it.
Yeah.
And then you have to use your energy to start again. But if someone was just pushing you, you'd go like, do whatever you want. We'll stop. You want to stop. So I'm pulling out onto PCH. Guy blows through the red light, and I'm moving over lane and almost clip this guy on his bike. And as I see him go by, I realize he's wearing a black, tight, form-fitting jersey, tight black shorts, and a black helmet. Right. And I don't fucking see him. So not only are you going down PCH, where it's the most dangerous stretch of highway ever, but you're dressed like a fucking ninja. And then I hearken back to a couple of days later when I was getting on to the 10 freeway from PCH, and I was starting to move over, and I almost clipped this guy on a three-wheeler Can-Am. He had that weird Can-Am bike. I don't know.
Yeah.
4 wheels is too much. 2 is not enough. Like, I don't know what those fucking things are for, but anyway, it's the 3-wheeler.
Yeah.
Well, he's sitting up on it, and he's wearing a flat black helmet, full face. And looking through my rear view, I don't see him because I can't see the bike or the lights or anything. I just see his head because I'm driving an SUV, and he swings around me, and I almost clip him. And I thought, what's with all the black helmets? And not only that, but flat black helmets. And not only that, but it gets goddamn hot out here, especially in the San Fernando Valley, especially in the dog days of summer. I had a full black lab named Phil, 110 pounds. When that dude would lay down in the backyard of
Did you clip him?
La Cañada, I ran over him. He was in the backyard. I was pretty drunk. He would lay in the sun, and I would touch his fur, and it'd be hot to the touch because black just sucks up. So you get a flat black full helmet, full face helmet. You just get on the 101 and you're going to Reseda in July. Your fucking brain is going to cook. Like, why aren't all helmets orange or white? What is up?
I've never heard a slogan, stealth for safety. You shouldn't be stealth when you're driving.
These guys all buy black. They love it because it makes them cool, which is why they bought the motorcycle. But in that Can-Am three-wheeler and a lot of bikes, and I got an SUV that's got kind of a high waistline, I can't see them out of the. I just see.
Nor can your car, by the way. They don't register. You know that thing that goes boop boop boop. You know the lights that come on.
They're wearing a black leather coat and a black helmet, and I can't see him in my rear view.
Right.
And it's a sure way to get killed. And I don't even know. Look, I don't like big government. Should you be? Look, we outlawed lawn darts. Should you be allowed to sell flat and clicky clacks? Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Should you be allowed to sell flat black helmets that are approved by the DOT?
Well, I think you should campaign.
I'm saying buy an orange helmet. And then I got angrier. I got angrier.
I can see.
I kept going. So I started thinking about a series I was watching on Netflix. I think it was The 100-Foot Wave.
Okay.
It was a story about a guy whose dream it was to ride a 100-foot wave. And he moved out to some weird European nation. Spain? Somewhere in Spain? Or
Portugal.
Oh, way off. And he was out in Portugal. Yeah, Joe's a surfer. And he was trying to find a 100-foot wave. They have one over there, evidently.
Yeah.
Well, on occasion. So a lot of the problem with when you're riding a 75-foot wave is you fall off. And then when you fall off, they can't find you because it's just a sea of ocean and you're tumbling in it. And there's a guy on a jet ski with a stretcher hanging behind it going, I don't know where he is. I don't know where he is. Every single person who tried to ride the 100-foot wave is wearing a full all-black wetsuit and then a dark blue life preserver. Why do they even make... I have life preservers in my house.
Yeah.
All dark blue.
Why?
Why did they even make them an ocean color? Isn't the whole point you need to be spotted? Isn't the whole thing about, we jumped off the tuna boat? We're trying to find you.
They already do it with hunting.
I know.
If you go out, you go in orange.
Right. So you don't,
That's the
so
bright
you can be
orange, so
seen.
you don't get shot. So it's the same thing here. It's the same premise.
These guys are in a fucking black wetsuit with a dark blue, and they go in the sea, and they cannot be spotted, and nobody raised their hand and just went, look, no homo, but maybe something a little spangly or something that winked at you a little bit. Can we just go with orange? Listen, Caltrans orange. The Caltrans guys wear an orange vest so you don't run them over. Like, this is you in the ocean. This is life or death.
I think it's image conscious to go back to the posh thing. I think that they want the photo to look good in that photo. They want to look like a ninja in the photo, a ninja in the water.
I don't think they think about it.
He's got an air tag in his trunks.
Why?
They want to look better.
Why, when I told somebody, buy some life preservers because we're going sea kayak and I'm bringing my daughter, blah, blah, blah. I just, 4 ocean color, dark blue. Why is that number 1 on Amazon? Why is it available?
It's the look. I'm telling you, it's got to be the look. People care about what they look like.
Why do we have a choice?
I went bungee jumping, right, out of a hot air balloon.
Really?
And I said to myself, first of all, when we got up there, the valve was frozen, so we went back down with me still out on the basket, ready to go.
Really? Wow.
Right? So thousands of feet up, right? And I said to myself, in my head, I said, I'm going to make this a Greg Louganis swan dive for the photo. So if I'm going to die, it's going to be, there's his last photo.
Right.
Same thing here. You're going to die in a 100-foot wave, it's going to be in black. Okay. It's slimming.
All right. I am saying,
it's my theory anyway.
In a world of regulation, this is all we have. All we have is that's an illegal tint on your car window, sir. Like, you cannot tint your car windows. We have rules and rules and rules. Sanctioning bodies, governing boards, Department of Transportation, OSHA, everything else. Why do we even make a navy blue life preserver? Right. Why is it even allowed? Yeah. Because by the way, you can't just come out with your own line of life preservers. They go, no. It's got to have 2 straps. It's got to be the straps have to be able to withhold 600 pounds of foot force on it. Yeah. They have to be able to flotation. Yeah. You have to register those things with what would it be called? Be called insurance underwriters, right? IU. You can't come out with your own toaster. They have to test it with the insurance underwriters.
Mattresses.
Mattresses.
You can't take the label off the mattress.
Take the label off.
I used to think
Why
I'd be
are you
arrested.
allowed to make navy blue ocean water color vests? I mean, when you go into the water with a life vest, the number one thing you want is to identify that person.
Why did they not bring these issues up at the presidential debate?
It's big fashion.
This is why I need your
big fashion getting us again.
This is what we need to talk about. And daylight savings, that's another one. That's my big
look,
one.
I'm running on a campaign of this.
Yeah.
And if you're deaf, that ain't a handicap. You don't get to use that parking spot in front of Costco. You're perfectly capable of walking across this Costco. Your legs aren't broken. Your ears are.
Can we throw in emotional support animals?
Well, that's first piece of business.
Should that be third?
No, that's number 1. That's number 1 with a bullet.
Because you want your dog to be with you.
Yeah, that's gone.
Yeah.
I said it to Brad Williams. I said, he's got the handicap placard. I'm like, you get around pretty good. You know what I mean? You don't have to
selling out stadiums.
There's some guy, some quad in a custom van, and he's not getting the space up front because you didn't want to walk across the parking lot. And God forbid, a deaf guy. You know what I mean? A deaf guy in a Costco is a plus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hope that's a perk. Didn't you? I wish I heard just the sound of silence in a Costco. And I hear like Armenian guys arguing over about the hot dog stand, and then they're pumping in stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
people like jockeying for position to get the samples because they're just coming out of the toaster oven.
well, I don't know, but the hearing would affect that.
No, it does. When people are yelling at you.
They're yelling. They're yelling.
I was here first.
Hey, come on, buddy. Those are my cocktail weenies. Come on, that one's got my name on it.
I was here first.
I literally send my kids in. You ever do
These are
that?
my hot
I send
dog
them in
weenies.
in seconds.
These are my cocktail weenies.
It's a good deaf voice.
You're welcome.
Let's all do the rest of the They can't hear us.
That was my whole thing. And that was the other thing about the closed caption, but they have their own sign language as its own language, and don't get me started.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I apologize for
You ever
those
do your
reading
comedy
on
show with someone
Spotify.
doing that, by the way? Ever do your comedy show with someone interpreting right next to you?
100%.
That is...
Yeah, what do you think I'm doing here?
Yeah. Look, I'm just saying my platform is no life preservers in blue or black, only in orange. Hey, good enough for the skipper in Gilligan. Good enough for us.
Okay.
Gilligan,
Bright orange?
the beginning of that show, when they showed Bob Denver, I think he was standing there with a bright orange life preserver.
I think he was wearing red as well.
Yeah, I think Trump is
That's right.
bright orange guy and Kamala's kind of blue.
All right, so we get Trump to enact this, and then also no parking for
They
deaf
would never
people.
lose Trump in the
No
ocean.
parking for
You
deaf
really?
people.
I didn't know that they could get a placard.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh,
can
wow.
get one for anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say the average deaf person is in better shape and more capable
I agree.
of walking that Costco parking lot than the average person that's not hearing impaired. I'm going to put a panel together. I'll get to the bottom of it, and then I take a stand.
They give those placards to anybody.
I know.
Remember Tommy T's? You've worked there before.
Tommy T's.
Tommy T, he has
The
a
club?
placard. He has a placard.
You're talking about the club?
What's this for? He's
Are you
neuropathy.
talking about a club?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, you never been there?
No, I've never been there.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy T's
Neuropathy.
had a placard.
For
Yeah.
neuropathy.
What the hell
he
is
had
that?
Bad feet.
Yeah.
He's got bad feet.
By the way, you feel a
He gets-
tingling in your feet.
That's it?
I know. My whole thing is a tingling in your feet is what you feel when you're in love.
Yeah.
Or really high.
Yeah.
Or drunk. It's a good thing. I like a tingling in my feet.
Yeah, every Friday you got neuropathy.
That's right. Driving home, listening to Gino Michelini with a tingling in my
I
feet.
don't want to bang. I want to bang on the drum all day.
You know who's weird? You know who sings that song?
Who?
Todd Rundgren.
What?
That's right.
Todd Rundgren had "Hello, it's me."
Just saw him in concert.
Oh, he did.
At the
And his
Savant
next song is,
Theater.
"I don't want to work." That's Range, right?
Yeah.
That he did both those songs.
Yeah. My anthem was "Smoking in the Boys' Room" and "School's Out for Summer." House Cooper. Those were the
Brownsville
big,
Station.
Those are the big anthems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
are
Do we
great
have
songs.
Gilligan's Island? Did it have the opening for that? Oh, we're going to look for
Speaking
it.
of opening, you know who opens for me is I don't know if you ever worked with her, but the skipper's granddaughter is a comedian. Did you know that?
Alan
Samantha
Hale.
Hale, yes.
Alan Hale. All I remember is on. Oh God, La Cienega. He had a restaurant.
I went there and he greeted you and he wore the
As a
skipper
skipper?
outfit.
Oh,
Alan
that's
Hale.
awesome.
And by the way, it had no orange on it.
It was he was land based at that point. I know what you're trying to do, Craig. It's not working. It was land based. Alan Hale
He had a lobster place.
had a place called Alan Hale's Lobster Barrel.
Yeah.
And it was one of the many, 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 many restaurants that I passed by in my youth, dozens and hundreds of times that we would never go into under any circumstances because it would have been considered dining or fine dining or something where you would have had to give money to get
Lobster,
food, to
yeah.
get lobster. I never
Right.
tasted a lobster until I was 34.
Yeah.
Or shrimp either. Actually, Joe, I think there are commercials with Alan Hale's Lobster Barrel where he's like local commercials where he's talking about, unlimited salad bowls and stuff like that. We have Gillian. Let's see if he's wearing orange in the beginning of this. And this is going to be my move in front of Congress.
Oh, this is the color version.
Right
Yeah.
back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship.
All right.
Red, there he is in red.
He's wearing red. No, I was wrong. He was just wearing red. He was not wearing. He was holding a rope and wearing red. Oh, but maybe he gets it in later. Let's see.
Weather started getting rough. The tiny ship was
Maybe it's here.
When I was a kid, I always wondered, oh, he's wearing yellow.
Now he's wearing yellow.
Yeah,
He's
there
wearing
you
a
go.
slicker.
Minnow would be lost. The ship's aground on the shore of this uncharted desert isle. With Gilligan.
I like that. I like the idea. He gets from Long Beach. You can stop it.
I always wondered why the millionaire would take a piece of
You
shit
can
boat
stop
like
it.
that, like a little
Okay,
dinghy.
thanks.
The Professor and Mary Ann, they added them. They
We're
weren't
gonna
the
get
original.
copyright
I like
strike
that
for
he
that
gets.
song.
I like that he gets from the port of Long Beach to an uncharted island on a boat that has a range of 71 nautical
Nothing
miles.
makes sense
I mean, that's a
Nothing
little.
makes
Don't get me started on Land of the Lost. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Craig, I was
Yeah.
talking to you off the air.
Yes.
What did I do with my notebook? Did I bring it in here?
No, I don't think you did.
No, I screwed that up.
Well, we're gonna have to go with Sans notes here.
Yeah, I was. So I know your dad, my dad were close, in not in proximity, but emotionally, and I was having this. I was talking to my son last night, and I was trying to sort of explain my upbringing and my dad, and he just kept going, it doesn't make sense, like why?
Yeah.
Now, he wouldn't say, like, there is my dad drank pretty hard and he was pretty upset when the Browns would lose and he would take it out on mom or something. And I don't really go, why? I just kind of go, I get it, but that's not me, and it's unfortunate.
Well, there's
but
a lot of
a
adapting
theme.
period to what we were given.
Right. So I was explaining, like, one I forgot with my dad and my mom in terms of their hands-off parenting. I said to my son, I have done the Long Beach Toyota Celebrity Grand Prix 5 times. Won once as a celebrity and once as in the pro division. But 5 times I've done that race, spread out over like 15 years. My parents don't live in Muncie, Indiana. They live in Valley Village. They live closer to the track than I would be in La Cañada. Neither one of them has ever been to that race.
Boy.
And I've done it 5 times. I mean, I'm talking Jumbotron. I'm talking 50,000 screaming people. I'm talking about spraying champagne up on the riser and getting the hat. I'm talking about the victory lap in the back of the Toyota Tundra where everyone's going nuts and there's wave. Never seen it. Don't know anything about it. Wouldn't go there. And nobody in my family ever worked on a Saturday ever. Like, it wasn't like, well, your dad was in China doing some pretty heavy hitting business. Never showed up.
Wow.
Never been there. I said to my son, remember when you were a kid, I used to take you to the Feast of San Gennaro? It's like, yeah, me and Jimmy started the feast in L.A. and my son loved it. And 10,000 people and Tommy Lasorda would show up and it would be 3 or 4 days. That was in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So my mom lived in North Hollywood. Never made it over the hill. And my dad's Italian and from South Philly, like grew up with the Paisans.
Right.
Never made it to the feast.
Isn't
of
the
San
list
Gennaro.
endless, though? It's endless of the things that they never
But my
showed up
son's
for.
head was like just going, what the?
Because you
what
showed
the?
up for him. I've overdone it with my kids.
I said,
And-
son,
and-
you're lucky because I overcompensated with your lazy ass.
One day was my entire lifetime with my father. One day with these kids where I give them every single thing possible. I think I'm going to give them everything I long for, but they don't give a shit.
But
I don't think that there's going to be some gratitude list, maybe at our funeral, from the kids. I could be wrong.
they know. Look, what it is you can't give them a bunch of evidence to build a case against you. And if you give them a bunch of, my dad said he was taking us to Disneyland, but then he got really drunk, and then he said he was too hungover. They remember that's Exhibit A. They'll do that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They will.
You did that, not your dad. You were the one that did the Disneyland
No, I'm saying
promise.
if you do that.
Oh, okay. Then it's going to go on.
Then it's going on to onto the permanent record. No, my dad never threatened to take us to Disney. There was no Disneyland. I mean, there wasn't.
Yeah, see, like what I'm getting is opposite of you guys.
What?
I got the hot and cold dad that he would show up. We would went to Disneyland. We would
Wow.
do some fun, crazy shit. He would show up, but also sometimes he'd kick me in the fireplace, or you know what I mean.
But
so
the, yeah,
he'd
the
get
bottom
fired
line
up
is
and whoop my ass.
They made us into who we are. Other people, when they hear the things that happen to us, they call it abuse.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I mean, and it's one after.
Well, did your dad do stuff to you? Did he put his hands on you?
That's the thing. That's what he did not do. He did not do. He never touched me.
But
either
do
hug-wise
you guys
or
think that
otherwise.
you were abused?
No,
Because both
I
you
would
guys
never
have-
use
No,
that word.
I was
They
just
use
not
that word today.
Neglected? Is that a better word?
I'd say neglect.
There's a ton of stories. My father
All right.
came for my 16th birthday visit. He left when I was born, something I said. Anyway, so he came back.
You said wah.
He had wah, and that was it. So he comes 16th birthday, he gives me, signs a title over to a car for me. I was like, wow, a Pontiac up and down the driveway. I'm so excited. I'm on the title. It's my car. He drove away in the car. I never saw the car again.
Really?
Never saw the car.
So you
I used to
stole your
tell
car.
my friends would say, do you have a car? I go, yeah, here, drive out to the mall. I had a title for years, never saw the car again. But
Why do you want you to? Why'd he even pretend to give it to you if he was going to drive away in it?
That's minor compared to all this stuff. I mean, the messaging, he would say, I could do a great imitation. Go, you're useless as tits on a bull. I need you like Custer needed more Indians. And I say that to my kids. They're going, what? It's so foreign to them. And to me, I adjusted, had fun, made fun of it. You know what I'm saying? That's what made us who we are today. And it's the complete opposite now
sort
with
of.
society.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
It is. Come on, give him credit.
My
for
sister's
what he-
not a famous comedian. Just say that. She's not. She's not. You know, opening theaters and doing stand up. So it doesn't necessarily make you into
Did your father?
who I am.
We have a lot in common. Work ethic. Did your father pass that on to you?
No, I see. I think the difference, as I was discussing with my son last night, everybody thinks they had, like, my dad was this way too, or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they tell you a story of something, and I tell them, no, my dad was nothing. There was no tits on a bull. There was no, excuses are like assholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. There wasn't a fake give you a car and then take the car back. There wasn't anything. There was didn't kick me no fireplace. We didn't go to Disney World. There was no discussion of anything. I had no work. He didn't
Was
work.
he deaf? I mean,
He got that goddamn parking space.
There was complete silence.
I have a theory on your
Pretty
dad.
much, yeah.
What about this?
Well, I'll put it to you this way.
Yeah.
He lived 6 miles from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
He lived 6 miles from a warehouse that was up the street that had millions of dollars of Paul Newman race cars in it.
Yeah.
There's nobody who worked in either one of those buildings that ever saw him inside of one of these buildings. Never.
Right.
But never, he wasn't into it.
My question is, did this motivate you to become the person you are today?
Well,
That's
the problem with the question, I think, or not
Yeah.
the question, but the problem with the synopsis
Okay.
is people go, I want my kid to go to a college, to have a safe environment that he can study in. I'm going to hire him a celloist to teach them so they can learn in the second language and whatever. And there's all that. And then there's, grew up on the mean streets. You know, Madonna lost her mom when she was a kid. She was traumatized, and now she has a motor. But it's sort of like saying, well, what's the path then? And I think the answer is, I was always going to do what I was going to do.
Destiny.
Yeah, although that's a little bit highfalutin. You know,
Yeah.
it seems cosmic or something. I was just going to do what I was going to do. And my sister was going to do what she was going to do, and you guys were going to do what you were going to do. And you could break a person enough so they cannot go along that journey. But I probably should have been a lot worse off than I am now, coming from what I come from.
Yeah.
But I was going to do what I was going to do. That's what that is. But because the thing is like when you go, well, that's where you got your sense of humor, all the strife and all the pain and all the whatever. It's like, how come no one in Africa is funny or the Middle East? That's all they do. Life is
You
one
don't
big
know
ball
that.
of
You
pain.
do not know that.
It's not known as a hotbed of
there could
young
be
comedians.
The ha-ha, you haven't played there yet.
I haven't played the ha-ha into Crete. That's true.
But you never heard the twin studies? All right.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like separated at birth, two guys live 40 miles away. They both became firefighters, both have the same mustache, both married a woman named Lynn, both have a red F-150, everything. It's like, how much of your life is predetermined by your genetics?
Well, I'm telling you, society wants you to believe it's nurture. Because they go, you got to expose them to the arts when they're young.
Right.
You got to,
Right.
I don't have enough money. No, they need they need pre-cum school.
Sell tickets.
They need school before, pre-cum school before.
Pre-cum school?
Before
Yeah,
they come
before
out
the
of your
egg.
balls.
Yeah, before the egg is fertilized. They need pre-cum school, and then preschool, and then that goes into preschool, and then there's pre-K, and then they can go pre, and then first grade. They need it, and then you sit around because I've had these conversations. You go like, the kids are 1.5. Yeah, we got to sign them up.
Yeah.
There's a waiting list. No. How much is it? Oh, it's $1,100 a month for, but individually, so it's be $2,200 a month. And you go, they're 1.5. What do they need to do this for? Hey, they got to learn to socialize. They got to learn to socialize. They got to learn to converse. They got to learn to talk with other people.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. How come I didn't do any of this and I have no difficulty?
I talk for a living. I literally made it through without baby Mozart. You put Mozart in the crib, supposed to help him sleep and make him smarter. When I was a kid in my crib in Philadelphia, listen to my great aunt chain smoking Marlboro Reds singing me a lullaby. When the bell breaks, the cradle will fall. Hold my ashtray still. Let me show you my smoke ring. Look, the Olympic symbol.
How's it we got by with nothing and now all this? But it's all the Purell, all the bullshit kid stuff, the stupid helmet to correct their cranium, all of it. It's all just a money-making bullshit, scare the women, give them checks, give them the whatever. Meanwhile, you just are who you are. It's not nurture, it's nature. Nurture can fuck it up, but nature is the path you're on. That's it. That's it. So it's like, it's the funniest thing in the world because when women all buy into it, like I'll talk to a woman and she'll go, Jimmy's funny because his parents took, and I go, yeah, he has a brother and a sister. They don't host late night shows. They all grew up in the same place. You know what I'm saying? No, my sister couldn't do 3 minutes at an open mic in front of her biggest fans. Like it's not what she does. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, let's put that to bed. Alan Hale did a commercial, not for the Lobster Barrel.
Oh.
I swear to God, I saw a menu from the Lobster Barrel. Now, did your dad, when he re-entered your life?
He never really
re-entered.
He has his own cult. My dad had his own cult.
Oh, he had a cult.
Ironically, by the way, my wife left me for a cult.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I have a podcast now called My Wife Joined a Cult, by the way, and it's becoming very popular. But it's just true stories of what she became. She was awesome at first with the treehouse. Then she went into this whole cult thing. It's multi-level marketing, it's scamming, and all that kind of stuff.
So you never
it's
really...
ironically that I married my father. You're supposed to marry your mother.
Wow.
I married my father. He was also a scammer. Entrepreneur, which is a French word for scam artist. He would have all of these multi-level marketing. The best one was he invited my mom, if she wanted her child support check, which she never got, to invite her big-breasted friends over. He sold bras meets Amway. So I hadn't seen him in years, and there he is smoking a pipe with my Aunt Dottie, Aunt Fran, and Aunt Barbara. He goes, Turner, show how it lifts and separates. This is our three-class model for the full-figured woman. He's selling bras. That business went bust. That's a bad pun, but that was one of the many things that he did. And now I ended up with marrying a woman that left for all these multi-level marketing businesses. It's just nuts. But how life works, who the hell knows what the theories are? But everything's theory. That's what problem I have. Everybody's into theories now, and not reality, what made us into who we are today.
I'll tell you what will make you a scientist. and a evolutionist and a social scientist. You have twins, and you have a boy and a girl twin.
Yeah.
And then you watch them, and then you realize they were always who they were, and they were always on a different trajectory, and they were raised in the same environment by the same people, ate the same food, exposed to the same thing, and they're totally different human beings. And
goes
that's
on with
it.
our own kids. Aren't your kids completely different?
I'm talking about my kids.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Oh, you have twins.
Yeah, I'm saying I have
didn't
twins.
realize
What
that.
you
Oh,
do,
okay. Oh.
I should have said what I do.
I thought it was
is
a
I raise-
hypothetical.
No. All right. Shall we?
Documentary you saw.
I could have been clear.
Science.
Science. That's it. They're totally different. They've always been totally different.
Amazing,
That's
yeah.
how kids. That's how kids work. All right. Should we take a break and do some news? All right. We'll do that right after this.
Hey, I'm Adam Carolla. That's Brad Williams and Jay Leno. Hey, buddy. Over there, we're doing our 3rd annual comedy fantasy camp. That's going to be January 23rd through the 26th, right in Hollywood, California. Where else would it be? These guys are going to be there.
So remember, 2 out of every 3 comics make it big.
Well, 1.5.
Do I get paid for this? Please tell me I get paid for this.
Go to comedyfantasycamp.com and get in on the fun.
Craig and I going to be found.
Are
2
we on?
shows. Yeah, we're on. Arena Theater in Houston, Texas. That'll be December 6th.
Theater in the round, by the way. So
Ooh.
watch what you're wearing on your ass.
I like that. All right. Chaps are staying home.
No chaps.
Hilton Phoenix Tapatio Cliffs Resort.
First time ever doing comedy there, by the way, and it's the most amazing, beautiful hotel with the best view of Phoenix you could ever have.
I'm
Amazing
looking forward to
restaurant.
it. Yeah, that'll be the next day.
And working
December
there
7th.
together. How about
Yeah.
that?
Who else is on that?
Kayvon is on the first one in Phoenix.
Right.
I'm sorry, in Houston, and it's just you and me on the other one, maybe a guest or something.
All right. You can go to amcrow.com for all those live shows. News. Right?
News, the first one. A dying husband, 93, tried to kill his wife of 60 years twice because he did not want to leave her alone. Yeah, apparently this 93-year-old man was on the way out, and he confessed to twice trying to kill his wife of 60 years. First go round, he tried to strangle her with some rope. Oh, no, that was the second go round. It was weeks after he tried to smother her with a pillow. Yeah, this is the gentleman right here on the screen.
Is that his?
It's always
is that
the
a
guys
cadaver?
you never
It looks like he
suspect.
already is dead.
Yeah, he definitely was on the way out. And
I mean, do you take him to court and give him life?
Right.
Life
And then
of-
the attorney's got to argue. No parole. Oh, come on. He's going to be up in 7 years. No. He's getting life. Yeah.
Yeah, he came up behind her while she was watching TV and pulled a rope around her neck, tugging hard enough to the point that her circulation was being cut off. But, I mean, I guess he gassed out and it didn't work.
It'd be funny if they're like, he got the death penalty, but because we didn't have the chemicals for the lethal injection, we just gave him rollerblades.
Yeah, man.
By the way, can we just, this thing where they go, look, it's big controversy about the chemicals for the injection and the medicine for the injection that stops and then they don't have, and this is, the electric chair or whatever. We cannot put people to death because we don't have the materials to do it.
Yeah.
Why is the firing squad off the table?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And what is the difference between lining up in front of a bunch of hay bales and having guys simultaneously just fucking blow your head off and walking into some room and being strapped down and having chemicals pumped into you? I mean, is it really...
No,
is it really a
society
difference?
wants to make it real nice and soft.
The firing squad would cost the taxpayers nothing because those guys would volunteer, and it's really just the cost of a 44 shell.
Yeah.
Also, I have a thing that you got to give one of them a blank.
Yeah.
So he can psychologically think he wasn't the one who put him to death.
Yeah.
But then also, I always thought it'd be funny if they, tie the guy up and they put the blindfold on him and everything. And they're like, and I'm in the firing squad. And this guy was accused of taking a 13-year-old to the woods and raping her and dismantling her body. And they're like, ready? aim, and then you hear my gun go off, and I hit him in the nuts. And then everyone looks at me and goes, what the fuck? And I go, I'm sorry. Sorry. The guy's like, ah! There's big blood all over his crotch. Ah! And then the guy's like, all right, listen, we got to regroup, or I got to do some paperwork, or I don't know. God damn it, Carolla, I didn't even do you went too early. I'm sorry. I was nervous. What are you going to do? And the guy's like, my nutsack. My nutsack. That'd be the greatest thing ever, right? Yeah, it had to have happened where guys jumped the gun.
Literally?
On the fire. Literally jumped the gun, right?
Yeah, undoubtedly. Next up in news.
How about this? Why don't you drop all of these people that are on death row? Take them all, give them a weapon, and drop them in a war zone.
Oh, you've heard the Carolla screenplay? Oh, yeah.
Is that what he says?
No, that's pedophile.
Oh, my bad.
That's with them too.
We drop them on an island.
Give them a quart of Crisco. Go at it here in Ukraine.
Yeah,
just take him, drop him in Ukraine or wherever you go. Here's who you're defending.
We were thinking more tropical, but
instead of sending all these weapons over there, send the people that we don't want anymore. Just drop them.
Well, I think that's what, Honduras is doing, Nicaragua's doing now with us. Yeah. I think they're just going, we're just going to take our fucking criminals and just drop them on the border. Let them go to Colorado and hang out. As of 2024, Idaho, Mississippi, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Utah.
Yeah.
Used the firing squad, but no one's used it yet.
No.
I don't think. They've just cleared it to hypothetically use, and then they'll try to use it, and then the civil liberties are gonna protest, and then there's gonna be a big court thing, and then it'll get held up.
Bring back the guillotine, like the last scene of Braveheart. That was amazing. You have a choice here.
Freedom.
Bring back the guillotine.
Yeah, and then stab them a little bit in the meantime. Yeah, teach them a little lesson.
Mm-hmm. Women was fired from returning from maternity leave, pregnant again, and gets a $37,000 payout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nikita Twitchen was preparing to return to her office job at the British Building Service, and after having a baby, and she discovered she was pregnant again, they fired her pretty much on the spot. But then she sued,
right? Because she's just gonna
$37,000.
You can't fire anybody anymore. They just sue you. It doesn't really matter why.
Yeah,
they just lawyer up, and then the whole grift. The grift with these lawyers, which is a weird profession to be in, is it's going to cost you more to fight this than it does. Just cut them a check for $75K and be on your way. And you're dealing with a business, and businesses are like, well, they got a bottom line. It's going to cost $150 to defend it, $86,000 to get this case to go away. Then you just cut a check. And that's the new world order. Yeah. That's the society we're living in.
Family court's that way.
Family court's that way.
My ex-wife literally changed the password on our bank account, had me convinced to put her on the bank account. Oh. She changed the password and stole the money.
Yeah.
Then I had to pay to make that go away. To go fight that would have cost me this. They said it's not worth it. Just pay her, quite a few $1,000s, right?
Oh, family courts. It's
family court is the worst system.
Well, it incentivizes women to get divorced and to
accuse you of stuff too. By the way, that's the other thing,
God.
and they don't get nailed on that. I had that happen as well. I mean, unbelievable.
No, you get accused
They can make up
of
anything
insane...
they want. You have to spend hundreds of that, if not millions of dollars defending yourself, and they don't even get a slap on the wrist for coming up with the false allegations.
Oh, boy.
That's how the thing works right now.
Oh, listen, I've been there. You get accused of insanity. But it also, here's what it is.
Plus, being comedians does not help.
It relies on people having character and dignity.
Mm.
And the second you wave a couple of bucks in front of most people, that's out the fucking window. And it's really sad.
It is, yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs because people go, I'm a good person. And you know what? You are a good person. But for 10 grand, you'll fucking say anything. And that's sad. And that's where we're living right now. And it's sad. It's sad for the lawyers. It's sad for the ex. It's sad for the kids.
Oh.
It's sad for everything. But everyone's integrity, character, and decency can be bought in a fucking hot second.
Right.
And that's the only way it would work is if people said, look, I'm not interested. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go there. And then they go, well, if you said this and went there, we could get more. And you'd have to go, yeah, but I'm not going to do that because I have dignity and I have character. But that immediately flies out the window when you start getting lawyers involved.
I get tired of defending that, though. You get forced to defend that, and then you don't look good because you're defensive. By the way, all my shows, the ones we're doing together, and all my shows this year are benefit shows, and all proceeds go to my ex-wife. I just thought to let you know that your cover charge goes to Botox and Pilates class. Okay.
Bum out story.
Yes, thanks, mate. I appreciate you bringing that up.
All right. A Mercedes owner goes viral using a vape pen to test the vehicle's high-tech air filter. Yeah. TikTok guy named This Dad TikToks came up with this little post. You know, he's kind of
the cabin filter.
Yes, the cabin filter.
In the day, an air filter was on top of the carburetor.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Now there's the cabin filter.
Yeah, I watched this video. I thought they were going to be outside of the car blowing into the carburetor, but no.
Oh, it's not for people that don't bathe. I thought you were talking about the filter for them.
HEPA filter. So, yeah, he found out. I don't know. We're going to run this?
Yeah.
Run it.
It's 8, which it's pretty good here in Fort Worth. The inside is a 1. Okay? That means it's already better than it was outside. Do you want to see what happens? This was accidental.
Hold on.
I was
Pause it for a second.
I know. I wanted
The
to see.
outside air quality was an 8. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside was a 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that's better?
Yeah.
It says 8 good.
Good.
Yeah, good. It's not that
1
bad.
is good.
So it's like parts per million. You know what I mean?
All right, but the lower the number, the better.
Yes.
Why isn't 1 great?
Yeah, I would
Right.
say that. Yeah. Why?
Why is outside 8 good and then 1 is good? But how do you get to great? 0?
Yeah.
Where are we going here? But then outside must go to 100, like if you drove through China or something.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so
But,
then we'll
continue.
continue.
8, which it's pretty good here in Fort Worth. The inside is a 1. Okay? That means it's already better than it was outside. Do you want to see what happens? This was accidental. I was on the screen. Kevin took a little puffy puff of a vape and he blew it down into the floorboard. Watch what happens. So Kevin's going to puff of his vape and he's going to just blow it down into the floorboard like he did naturally last time. Okay, so he puffed it out. Watch this. Watch this. Look what's happening. Oh my God. 93?
102,
Unhealthy?
120.
Oh my God.
Very unhealthy.
180
God.
parts per million, apparently. Very unhealthy, it says.
Now we're getting to almost 200, 198. So, okay, all right, hold on. Were you guys with me on this? And this is going to be part of my platform. I want orange-only life preservers.
Yep.
I want no deaf people parking up front.
Okay.
Firing squad.
Firing squad. Thank you.
With a ball shot first.
Right. One. Well, only for the sex offenders. Come on. Not.
Yeah.
Craig, I don't want you to think I'm unreasonable. If you are a sex offender and you raped and killed someone and that's why you got the firing squad, one guy gets the sack shot just like 5 Mississippi before the end. That's all. Just so you can enter the afterlife grabbing your groin and screaming in agony.
Yeah.
And also, I will invite the parents of the teenage girl you abducted, raped, and killed in the woods. I will give the dad
a gun.
I will go, listen, how's your sack shot? Is that a good? Are you good? Right. And we would work it out. You know,
line it up for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be ceremonial, like, you know, when the mayor cuts the ribbon, you know, he's got the shiny hard hat on. He's not working on the job site, but you give him the big scissor. You give the dad of the deceased 14-year-old girl that was raped by this maniac and killed, you hand him the gun.
Yeah.
You get the first shot.
Yeah.
The rest of the guys would be ready.
I'd vote for you.
So what about the air quality?
Oh. Where were we? Well, look, you're at a firing range. The air quality's fine. You're outdoors. All right? Just let me finish.
Yeah.
No. The whole point is this Mercedes-Benz is very bad at 198, very unhealthy, right? But 8 is good and 1 is good. What if I lit a newspaper on fire inside the cab? Would it go up to 6,000?
Would it?
Like, here's the whole point: 0 to 100. That's it. If you look, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but real high-end stereo equipment, when you do the volume knob, it'll go minus 27 to plus 35, and that's the high-end stuff. Yeah. And like one time, I was watching some sci-fi movie, and it was one of these like dark, like space, it was like the beginning of, I could have been Alien or something, and it was a craft going through black space, silent, dead silence, and I didn't know. So I walk over to the stereo and I'm like turning it minus 17 and then up to plus 41, but it wouldn't just be 0 to 100. It's like, and I'm like minus 11. Like, what does minus mean in the decibel world? And then so I end up going, fuck it. I max it out at like 41, and I'm like standing by the speakers, and I'm like, I don't hear anything. Maybe the surround sound's not working. All of a sudden, in the movie, the music just and it just walls start shaking. It scares the shit out of me. It blows up my speakers. Just if it went 0 to 10, then I would just set it at 4, and I would know where I was. But it goes high-end Marantz, $5,000 unit. It goes minus 26 to plus 31, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means, but why? Why minus? How can you have minus sound? This fucking Mercedes wagon, shit's got to go 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. But he's at 198 for blowing one vape.
Yeah.
Does it go to 7,000? What if I lit a crock on fire inside of that car? Would it get to 7,600?
It calls for an experiment. Spinal Tap went up to 11.
Yeah, it's true.
Even that was an exaggeration, right? That was meant to be an exaggeration.
All right, but what is informative about this vid?
Nothing. It's just like a little kitschy thing for him to show off his Mercedes and stupid ass bucket hat. I don't know. I hate this whole video. I don't know why they gave me this.
Or you couldn't come up with a better news story.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly right.
That's what happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Look, speaking of crazy ass numbers, Russian finds Google's 20 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 $0,000. Million?
They find them?
Yes. Russia is seeking an unfathomable sum of money from one of the world's biggest tech companies.
Why are they going after Google?
This is 2 undecillion rubles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which
Google
converts
has that in their
to
couch cushions.
Yeah,
that's right.
20 decillion, which is 20 billion trillion dollars. That's how much they find them because they shut down their entire damn internet during the invasion of Ukraine.
Remember, think about these two concepts. When the Ukraine war broke out, I don't know, 2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Biden in the White House went, well, we're going to end this fast. We're going to sanction all the Russian oligarchs. Yeah. When they can't get their yachts into New York City and they can't get their townhouses in Beverly Hills, things going to be over like that. What happened?
Strategy,
now, here's what I'm saying. What happened to sanctioning the oligarchs and bringing Russia to their knees and ending the war? And then what happened to Putin's price hikes? Like when they're going, well, gas is $5 a gallon because of Putin, Ukrainian war, and beef is way too much because of Putin's price hikes. Here's what I'm saying, whether it's the oligarchs or Putin's price hike. Did they ever think that in the first place, or are they just fucking talking?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think there's bologna sandwiches.
They never thought about that.
Absolutely.
No, they just talk. They're just talking. But isn't it weird just to talk about shit and just be wrong all the time and then go back up and go, I want to talk about some new stuff?
It's because they're not really in charge.
So they just say whatever they want.
Yeah, they say whatever it's all about spin and everything else. I just thought of something to add to your platform, by the way. Sue people who sue. How about that?
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do.
You going to add it?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I was vice president for a second.
I will add this.
I thought that was my way into the ticket.
Listen, I thought
it was a very good idea.
I might bring you in as vice president. You're not Jew, are you?
No.
Okay.
I had several fathers that were.
Well, take a look at your resume. All right.
Does that count?
Here's what you can do.
All right.
You can have, in the NFL, you can challenge what? Two calls a game? Or in Major League Baseball, you can only make X amount of challenges. What the NFL realized is if you just challenged everything, you'd be a nuisance. And the game wouldn't be able to move forward. So you get 2 lawsuits every 13 years. Because there's a lot of these motherfuckers have 171 lawsuits in the last 14 months. I mean, that is insane. And if you're a law firm that's a mill for these things, like we do 500 cases a day where people file against restaurants that didn't have a handicap bar in the bathroom or whatever, and we have clients that have 85 lawsuits. Literally, they're clients that have... So I don't have any lawsuits. So I've been sued, but I've never sued anybody.
Same here,
So I would get to sue somebody because people would go, that guy's old and he's never sued anybody. You, crazy person who sued the last 17 restaurants you've been inside, that's too many. We no longer trust you. So the cap is you can do 2 every 13 years. If something legitimate happened, you got fucked over, used car sold, it was a lemon, the guy wouldn't take it back.
Even that, I'm going to disagree with my president. Even that, don't just stop it. We can come up with these excuses forever. No, 13 years. Why do you have a cap on 13 years?
I cannot interrupt the system to the point where, look, first off, Trial Lawyers Association, I need their vote. I can't turn everybody on. I need the school teachers unions. I need the Teamsters. I got to make. I have to make some considerations here, Craig. All I'm saying is,
disappointed in you.
You get a bad used car from some Armo guy in Glendale. You need to have a road, pardon the pun, to take them to small claims or whatever. If you do it but if you exceed that, you're out. There's no more law firm mills.
Well, I represent the frivolous lobby, and we're here to give you money to let us keep doing what we're doing.
All right. Well, you know what? I think I could do 40 lawsuits, and let's make it every 9 years. Would that be good enough to get
42,
your vote?
and we got a deal.
40. Let's do 42 in an 8-year period from the frivolous lawsuit representative.
Yeah, here, take this envelope.
All right.
Yeah. How about this? You're all on your own. No lawsuits, period. Okay? No, you're on your own. You work it out.
Well, look,
I agree.
If I get one more, they'll sue you over anything now. How about harassment?
I had the patent trolls sue me. I didn't even know who they were, where they were. You know what they sued me over?
What?
Sequencing. They were like, we own a patent to 1, 2 comes after 1, and 3 comes after 2, and you run your shows in chronological order.
I thought you meant you had a shirt that you wear to the disco.
No, being fabulous, no man can own.
Okay.
All right.
I tried one lawsuit, and it's horrible. They always explain it to you. You're not going to go anywhere. Well, how does everyone else go somewhere?
I know. So you're going to spend more. Yeah, that's awesome. No, look, kids, listen, never be successful. Never be. All you do is get sued, and divorce is really much just extortion means getting sued spread out over an extended period of time. So
yes, and we're paying for all the crimes of our forefathers. That's the problem. Is you're a dude and you are now.
Yes,
my ex is now claiming that she makes wealth for women, that she does all these posts and makes wealth. I said, great, I'm going to get paid now. Oh no. I said, you're lying to either the court and me, or you're lying to these people that you say you're going to make women wealth, and here, join my mastermind.
You know what? I'll give you an example of one of the craziest laws in family law, which is
whoever makes
bizarre.
More.
No, it's all bullshit.
Crazy.
It just
whoever
punishes,
makes more has to pay the other one.
It basically incentivizes people to be losers.
It incentivizes me not to go make money. I'm an earner. I don't want to make the money anymore. I don't want to pay it.
Here's the one that I don't think people understand. You pay X amount for child support, right? Then you pay X amount for child support. Alimony. Sorry, you pay spousal support, then you pay child support. Okay.
Half of your income.
Yeah, all right. It's all ridiculous, but fine. The kid's got to get by on $19K a month.
It's called the Disomaster. You plug it through the Disomaster.
I got by on.
It's like a get dick the master.
I got by like $14 a month. But all right, when I was a kid. But anyway, you have to do that. Which all right, child support, spousal support, fine. But you go when you start talking about child support, you're like $19,000 a month. Like how much money can you fucking spend? Like how can you do it? And the answer is. Well, whatever doesn't get spent goes to the spouse. So it's like, well, wait a minute. It's called child support.
Right.
Yeah, but if she only spends $4,000 of it, then you pocket 15.
Yes.
And it's like, well, that seems like a weird law. And then the other one that's insane.
And by the way, the kids don't eat steak tartare. They're eating ramen. So where's the rest of the money going? It's supposed to go to the kids.
Well, the other one that's insane about child support is they go, all right, you give them $19,000 a month. And then they go, all right, but that doesn't cover plane tickets to go look at colleges. And you go, why doesn't it cover everything to do with the kids? And it's like, it doesn't cover a prom dress and it doesn't cover travel. And you're like, there's $19,000 for these two people. And everything should be on the table. It does do it for this, but it doesn't do it for that. It's like, until you get to the bottom of the $19,000, then it should all just be used for that. But the law is, and this is a weird conversation where they go, well, tickets to Burning Man may be covered by the 19. It's like, take it all out of the 19. And if there's anything left at the end of the month, I should get that back.
A rebate.
Because it's child support.
Put this on your
There's
platform.
already a separate pile for spousal support. So why is this? Every law is against guys. It just incentivizes women to have super low character and it turns them into bad people.
This coffee was bitter.
You're going to sue?
Yeah.
I thought that was a metaphor for him.
Yeah. It's all a metaphor.
Oh, your conversation is bitter, Adam.
Yes, it's a system that incentivizes people with low character to do bad things.
Yeah.
Just like saying,
high character gets punished. That's the irony.
Back to your service dog. It's like saying, look, if you really need the dog to go through the airport, you can, but we're on the honor system, and the next thing you know, there's 2,000 batshit crazy bitches dragging their fucking schnauzers through LAX. That's where we're way beyond the honor system. That's the problem.
How about when you get to the airport? Here's one to add to your little list. You get there, and the first people to board are people that are out of shape.
No.
Oh, you can't.
They get rewarded for it. So now that is getting larger and larger, and they're in wheelchairs. But as soon as they're beyond, the little entrance, they're running. They'll sprint to the baggage.
I'm eating my way to a rascal scooter.
Exactly.
All right, journalist Glenn Greenwald is going to join us. I'm going to bid adieu to Craig Shoemaker, but Craig, I will see. Oh, Shoemaker. Sorry.
You've always said it right. That was the one
Craig
time.
Shoemaker.
You make shoes. You don't mock shoes. You don't mock shoes unless they're Crocs. Those you can mock.
Shoemaker.
I love F1 so much.
Oh, right, yeah.
And
you couldn't love horse racing with Willie Shoemaker.
Willie Shoemaker.
You could love horse racing a little more than you love F1
Schumacher
on animals instead of a machine. Yes, Shoemaker.
Shoemaker and Schumacher is famous.
No umlaut,
F1.
not off the boat from Bavaria.
Right.
Just a little Craig Shoemaker,
That's true.
the Love Master. People know me as the Love Master.
The Love
also.
Master.
Some
Schumacher
people only know that.
Whoa, you can't say
German.
that, bud.
What's that?
Your ex-wife has the rights to shoot.
That's
Love
right.
Master.
You gotta clear that with her.
Reminded me of that.
Sorry, bud.
Live shows, Houston, Texas, December 6th. I'll be there.
With you.
Arena Theater, and then Hilton, Phoenix, Tapatio, Cliffs Resort. I am intrigued.
This is a beautiful, beautiful place. So make sure you stay there. I'll be hanging with you there.
I will hoist one with you after the show in celebration.
And then I've got a whole bunch of stuff at craigshoemaker.com performing all over I'm a lot to pay for all these bills from going without an attorney. I tried that one
tour.
too. Oh, this is a divorce tour. By the way, the first one I asked out was a friend of mine when I got single. This is a true story. She goes, I can't go out with you. I'm married to Jesus.
Wow.
I said, well, there's some competition.
Yeah.
This guy's rising from the dead. I couldn't get up last Saturday.
In a three-way with Muhammad.
So I text her. I go, he's seeing other people. I don't want to be gossipy. But anyway, that's my dating life. But
all right.
So it's the dating tour too.
We'll take a break. I'll talk to Glenn right after this. O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're in the business of keeping your car on the road. They offer friendly, helpful service and parts and knowledge that you need to maintain all the repairs and keep your car running smoothly. I've always been a fan of O'Reilly. I remember when I lived up in La Crescenta in my rented house with all my roommates, and I'd work on my Isuzu Trooper, and then later on my Toyota Supra. And I would go up to the O'Reilly up on Foothill. That's where I got all my know-how and I got all my parts. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in the store or online, so you're never in a jam. The team at O'Reilly Auto Parts can test your battery for free, and they'll do it in or out of your car, so you can bring it in, or you don't have to pull it out of your car. They'll come out and do it in the parking lot. Need your windshield wipers replaced, brake light fix, quick service? They'll help you find the right part, or they'll point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. So whether you're a car aficionado or you're a novice, you get with O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're knowledgeable, they're helpful, and best of all, they are friendly, and you can do it online or you can go in. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit them at O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. Glenn Greenwald has joined us. He's a journalist, he's an author, he's a thinker, and you can check him out. System Update with Glenn Greenwald. That's on Rumble. Weeknights, 7 p.m. Eastern on Rumble, and also Instagram as well, at Glenn11 Greenwald. Good to see you, Glenn.
Hey, Adam. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
I'm very happy that there are voices like yours out there, and that there's finally platforms for voices like yours that do not seem like they can be controlled as easily as they were in the past. But there's always the attempt at control, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously the internet, if you look at the literature in the mid-1990s when it first emerged, was all triumphalist about the idea that it was going to be this innovative, unprecedented technology that was going to free everybody from the constraints and control of centralized corporate and state power. And for a while it did. I didn't to start journalism, I didn't go to work at the New York Times or get contaminated at Columbia Journalism School. I just created a blog and found a large audience pretty quickly in 2005. And although I've had one foot in the corporate media, I did the Snowden reporting when I was at The Guardian, and I worked at Salon, and we created our own media outlet at The Intercept. I think over the years, it's become apparent that the easiest and best way to be a independent journalist that can reach a huge number of people, often more than, say, traditional media outlets, is by being an independent media. And that relies on the ability to keep the internet free. And that's why these attempts to control the internet, to commandeer it, to restrict what can be said, to me is the greatest menace. It's the number one priority of Western democracies. And I think fighting it is the number one priority for people who care about free speech on the internet.
Yeah, so for me, I'm a little suspicious and dubious that the people who got everything wrong about COVID and Hunter Biden's laptop and Russian collusion now are making a pitch for trust me to control the internet so mis and disinformation doesn't get out there. And I'm like, I would think that possibly that was a good idea if I did not think you were compromised and either stupid or a liar and were wrong about everything in the last 6 years. Then yeah, I would think about that. But now it's almost insulting that you want to put yourself in charge of the truth ministry.
Yeah, I mean, there's this attempt to suggest that disinformation comes primarily from these unconstrained spaces that exist beyond the control of the government or the corporate media, like 4chan or Facebook or now X, when the reality is that disinformation comes far more frequently, far more deliberately, far more destructively from the very corporate media outlets and their political allies that claim to need to be able to censor the internet to stop disinformation. They're the purveyors of it. I mean, obviously, you go back to 2003 when a huge amount of trust was lost in American institutions because of the falsehoods that were disseminated to induce support for the Iraq War. Then we had the 2008 financial crisis where all the business geniuses we were taught to revere destroyed the economy, blew it up, and then Obama acted to save them. And then you get into the Trump years where we've had one falsified, concocted scandal after the next that the media has ratified and sponsored. And now not only do they wonder why the public no longer trusts them, the public hates them, they're ranked lower than almost every institution, including Congress. I think they're barely above pedophiles, though not even that much anymore. And it's not just that, but they really do believe that they're the sole guardians of fighting against disinformation to the point where they need to control what can be said and what can't because they're the only arbiters of truth. And that would be disturbing coming from any human being to believe that. But as you said, coming from people whose track record is as shameful and discredited as theirs, it becomes extra disturbing.
Yeah. What do you make of Bezos's recent comments about not endorsing Kamala Harris and then sort of explaining that we need to get some credibility back? I mean, okay, my first head on it is whatever credibility you've lost has been 100% because of you. It's like saying, well, my dad lost credibility. Yeah, because 1,000 times he said we're going to Disneyland and 1,000 times we never went to Disneyland. But that's not me. That's him. He did it to himself. So these are all self-inflicted wounds because they're partisan, I guess. But what do you think about his comments and what do you read into not backing a candidate, not endorsing a candidate? I've said many times, I don't know why newspapers endorse a candidate. It makes me think later on when they report on that candidate, I now have a jaundiced eye that I see this through because you didn't endorse Trump, you endorsed Biden, and now there's a story about Trump, and I don't believe it, and now there's a story about Biden, and I don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, as a journalist, I never, ever tell people for whom I'm voting. I never make an endorsement. I never tell people who to vote for. I feel like my job is to just disclose real information, including information they don't get from the corporate media, and then let them decide. And part of the reason for that, from my view, that if you want to be a journalist, you shouldn't be endorsing is not just that it makes you look biased, which of course it does. It's that subconsciously, when you connect yourself to a candidate, when you sponsor them, when you urge people to elect them, once they win, if they do win, there's going to be a tendency on your part to glorify them, not to report adversarially on them because you don't want to make it seem like the person who you cheered for and told everyone to vote for ended up being corrupt or a failure. So even subconsciously, I think it misses with your journalistic head if you've attached yourself to a political campaign or a political candidate. But I think the point about Jeff Bezos is so important because I've been screaming this for years. Journalists know, because they read the same polls that we all do, that really, basically, nobody trusts them. Nobody thinks they're trying to tell the truth. In fact, most people believe now that they lie on purpose for political ends. And the reason people believe that is because that's exactly what they do. So a lot of times they'll lament it, they'll complain about it, but they never ask what they did to cause it. You know, it really reminds me of like the attitude of very young children. Like, I don't know if you have kids, but I have kids. And, you know, but my kids were, you know, at 6 and 8 and 10, it's this very spoiled attitude and very selfish attitude, self-centered. Like, they know what they want, but they don't want to hear reasons why they may not be able to get it. Or if something bad happens to them, they blame everybody else, but they don't want to accept responsibility. There's a very common behavior for not even a teenager, but like a young child. And this is what these journalists are. They know their industry is failing. The Washington Post loses, 60, 70 million dollars every year as it only survives because of Bezos' money. All these other outlets are laying people off in huge numbers, and if not going bankrupt because nobody reads them, nobody cares about them, nobody trusts them. And they just want to be able to keep doing what they're doing and have people just subsidize them and hope that one day it'll get better. And what Bezos said in the first half of that op-ed that he, of course, published in the Washington Post, since it was his newspaper, he's the only one who could have gotten an article like that published there, was he basically said, look, it's time for you to accept the facts. You all talk about yourselves like this is an august institution, that we can't squander the credibility and faith that Americans have in us, but nobody has faith in you. The American public doesn't trust you. They believe you're partisan liars. Yes. And if that doesn't change, then this paper is going to wither away into even greater irrelevance than it already has found itself in. And that's the dose of truth that op-ed had, regardless of what his motives were. That important point was something that they just refused to acknowledge. And I think it was so good that he said it and he shoved it down their throat. It wasn't just like a sentence in passing.
Well, it's necessary. It always brings a smile to my face when these journalists, when Dana Bash is trying to get J.D. Vance into a headlock and tear his head off, and then somebody says, well, look, Dana, I know your side, and he goes, excuse me, sir, you don't know how I vote. It's like, oh, I don't know how you vote? I don't know how you vote? All I have to do is watch half an interview with J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz, and I know exactly how you vote. And the idea that it's more the idea that they get indignant that someone dared to bring this up, to question their integrity. I have some clips because, as you probably know, Catherine Herridge has been out doing some journalism, and
which is why she's no longer with CBS.
She's no longer with CBS because she's wanting to do journalism.
For that reason. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's trying to do journalism, so CBS has no room for someone who's doing journalism. And speaking of journalism, there's a paper and it's an email and it breaks down the percentages of what everyone's getting paid from whatever Hunter Biden is up to in Ukraine or Russia, Burisma, whatever that is. And it says 10% for the big guy. And then it says provided by Hunter Biden. So why is Hunter Biden in charge of the big guy, and who is the big guy? And no journalist has asked the question, which seems patently insane to me, because somebody should say to Hunter, who's the big guy? And by the way, in a document that has everyone's name, why does this person go nameless if, in fact, he's just a businessman from Orange County? So no one has ever asked, but now Catherine is asking, and I get why they're not asking. They're covering for the Biden family. And then also, when you start getting into the IRS and the DOJ and the FBI, and you realize these people are actively trying to get one party elected, that seems like a story to me. It just feels like a story, especially when you never stop talking about democracy. You want the FBI running interference for one of the parties? But we'll play the clip, and then you can react to it.
Question in your mind based on the universe of data that the big guy was Joe Biden.
We corroborated that the big guy was Joe Biden, yes.
Did your supervisors accept that the big guy was Joe Biden?
There was no question ever that the big guy was referring to Joe Biden.
So FBI, IRS, everyone understood that.
And that's why when we were doing the interviews, the prosecutors in Delaware specifically told us that they didn't want to ask about the big guy because they knew it was Joe Biden.
Did President Biden financially benefit from his son's business deals?
This whole thing at the end of the day was about enriching a family, enriching the Biden family through access to an administration. Through all these different financial transactions, you see various members of the Biden family, to include James Biden, receiving money through a lot of these deals that were set up. How do these foreign officials pay U.S. politicians? By paying their families.
All right. It's pretty clear what was going on this entire time between Joe Biden or Tony Bobolinsky, who I've interviewed, or, Hunter Biden's laptop. It's all there. It's all there. I mean, the FBI, what the FBI did with the laptop is they went, well, we have it. But it's like saying, well, the FBI had a Picasso, but they couldn't prove it wasn't a bootleg. So they couldn't authenticate it. And then after the auction, where it sold for $5, then they authenticated it as soon as the auction was done. Like, it is so patently clear what they were doing, and they were interfering in the election. And there's not a news outlet that wants to discuss it.
I really think what happened right before the 2020 election with regard to this whole story is arguably the greatest political scandal in terms of manipulating elections and trying to distort the election outcome that we've seen in decades, for so many reasons. First of all, as you say, the U.S. security state, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, Dwight Eisenhower called it the military-industrial complex, warned that there was a secret part of the government and that was becoming more powerful even than elected officials. That was back in 1961 when he left office. Since then, we've had the Vietnam War and the war on terror, and it's just grown even way more aggressively than when he was warning about it. And he was not a leftist. He was a 5-star general who won World War II for the United States. There is this part of our government. And when Donald Trump ran in 2016, a major part of what his platform was, both as a Republican nominee candidate and then as the presidential candidate in the general election, was this whole Bush-Cheney foreign policy, the reliance on the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, has become so disastrous for our country. We should stop interfering in all these other countries and fighting wars in these other countries and look inward and take care of our own country. Like, why are we in NATO? Why do we pay for the defense of Western European countries? All the pieties and orthodoxies most sacred within the U.S. security state, Donald Trump and he alone was questioning and even attacking. And so they, of course, turned against him. The entire Russiagate fraud came out of the bowels of the CIA and the FBI, and we all know this now with Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and all those people, Jim Comey, who were petrified of Trump, who hated Trump, and they passed it all to the New York Times and the Washington Post anonymously. Those papers showered themselves with Pulitzers, and then Robert Mueller was unleashed for 18 months and found that there was no evidence to prove that conspiracy. So again, that's what we went back to earlier, that the most amount of disinformation comes from these establishment sectors. But the other part of this is, one of the things that I've done most of my career, I think as much as, if not more than any other journalist, was I've worked with very large archives. I worked a lot with WikiLeaks on these gigantic archives that they've gotten. I've worked with, obviously, the Snowden archive. I was the primary journalist working on that NSA archive, that Edward Snowden leak that we reported. I've worked on major archives in Brazil. And when you get a huge archive like the Hunter Biden archive, obviously, as a journalist, your number one question is, how can I authenticate this? How can I know for sure that the documents in this archive are in fact true? And there's very obvious and easily executed methods for authenticating it. For example, you could go to a Tony Bobolinsky and say, hey, I have this archive where there's emails that are written to you and you've responded to those emails. Can you show me in your phone what those look like so I can match word for word what's in the archive? And then you go and do that. And then the archive is authenticated. Before the 2020 election, the media got together with the CIA and manufactured an absolute lie, which was that these documents both came from Russia and were disinformation. When I was at The Intercept, that was, the outlet that we created supposedly to be adversarial to the security state. And when they refused to let me report on those documents based on the lie that they couldn't be authenticated, that the CIA said they were fake, I quit. And that's what sent me to independent journalism. And not only that, but big tech, Twitter and Facebook, suppressed the story, banned it. So all based on an absolute lie that came from the CIA and FBI that was ratified by the corporate media. And then based on that, big tech suppressed it and banned it. Very important reporting about the Biden family and Joe Biden himself trying to exploit his political power for personal gain in places like China and Ukraine in a very closely contested election. We can never prove the counterfactual, but it very well may have been what prevented Donald Trump from being certified the winner. And I don't think we've ever come to terms with the multi-pronged corruption, beginning with the fact that these agencies are supposed to do everything except interfere domestically. They're supposed to be focused on our foreign adversaries, and increasingly they're instead subverting our elections, manipulating public opinion in a way that is incredibly dangerous. And of course, the media was the key participant in that fraud.
Oh yeah, complicit for sure. And I like to play the stupid or liar game, but when Leslie Stahl is yelling at Trump, there's no way to authenticate a laptop that the FBI has in their possession, sounds to me like she's lying at that point, because there's definitely a way to authenticate a laptop that you have in your possession when you're the FBI. And also,
and journalists too. Journalists too.
Yes.
Like I said, journalists have ways of you go to Tony Bobolinsky and a lot of other people, which I did. Obviously, I wouldn't want to put my name on a story about these documents if I couldn't prove they were true. All these media outlets had the ability to do what I did, what others did, and authenticate the documents. It's so easy.
You make me want to scream, light myself on fire, and jump off a cliff, because you have a person from 60 Minutes screaming there's no way to authenticate something. You have archivists, you have other journalists, you have segment producers, you have a team of people and tons of cash. Go look into it, bitch. How about
tech
that?
Specialists too. Tech specialists.
You have
look
everything.
At archives and see if they're metadata. Like I said, I've worked on these big archives before. I know how to do them.
Yes.
And I'm not the only one. I'm just saying that's why I had so much confidence before the election. And then it was only after, as you said, Joe Biden was safely elected, did all these media outlets then start coming out and saying, oh, we've actually been able to authenticate this archive and now we can use it to report.
Yes. And also, it's an interesting thing. So if this laptop was, Russian interference, and with the predicate or the thought that they were there to help Trump, right? I mean, just forget about any kind of forensic anything. Let's just psychologically think about it. If Russia could get this info into that laptop and try to sink Joe Biden, why'd they say 10% for the big guy? Why didn't they say 10% for Joe Biden? Like, if you're really trying to set somebody up, where's the smoking gun? Put something in there that has Joe Biden's name on it.
Right. I mean, that's why I think the most incriminating part of this story isn't necessarily what those documents revealed. I mean, I think they were interesting and relevant and reflected negatively on Joe Biden. But as you said, they weren't some huge smoking gun. The most interesting and relevant part of what happened was what the media did, what the CIA did with these documents, what big tech did to censor it. And I just want to say one other thing, this whole idea of it came from Russia. You go back decades and you look at how journalists have functioned. Journalists don't care where their source is or what their source's motive is. The only thing you care about a journalist is, I've been given these documents. Are they, number one, authentic? And are they, number two, in the public interest? And if the answer to those two questions is yes, you don't care about the source. Sometimes the most important leaks or the most important documents come from sources who are very ill-motivated. That makes no difference. They invented this standard for the first time in 2020 that, if these documents come from a foreign source and they are intended to interfere in our election, we may not publish them. So let me ask you, honestly, do you think that if, say, Iran or Venezuela or Lebanon, some country hostile to Donald Trump, got documents, hacked documents that were true and extremely devastating to the Trump campaign, do you think these media outlets would refrain from publishing it on the grounds that, it came from a foreign country with the intention? Of course, they would be rushing to publish it, and they would give themselves Pulitzers for it. Yeah, it was such a bullshit standard that they concocted.
I know. I think it was Adam Schiff's office that had the Russian DJ guy pretending to be like a Russian something call him up and say he had nude pictures. And he was like, hold on, let's get a meeting going. Like, okay.
Of course.
All right. We have another clip from Catherine that I thought I'd get your opinion on. And it's really, so these guys are whistleblowers, and there's a couple of whistleblowers. By the way, all the people loved whistleblowers until these guys showed up, and then they had a big problem with whistleblowers. But I'll play the clip.
In our investigation, we knew that the laptop was real. DOJ knew that the laptop was real.
FBI knew the laptop was real.
Yes.
Based on the notes of this October 2020 meeting, the FBI and IRS, when did they know the laptop was real?
It was many months before October 2020. We were confirming certain aspects of it that it was real and legitimate as far back as late 2019.
Why was the Hunter Biden laptop reporting suppressed in October of 2020?
There was various reporting of people saying that it's potentially Russian disinformation. And one of those people is the current Secretary of State. His name was in a lot of the emails that were turned over to the House Ways and Means Committee that were on Hunter Biden's laptop.
I mean, it was clear that it was a campaign to discredit that information before an election. Ultimately, I guess you can conclude that it was for the purpose of affecting that election.
When you heard dozens of former intelligence officials say the laptop had the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation, you knew that was false.
Yeah, and I mean, as a special agent, as a criminal investigator, and what I know, what I do, I don't know how they could have come to that conclusion regarding this laptop.
It was misinformation to try to make something else look like misinformation.
So, Glenn, the big picture here that I discuss with Dr. Drew all the time is not really what are these guys up to? You know, what's Joe Biden doing? Well, Joe Biden would like to make money. And Joe Biden can't have checks that say Joe Biden, so the money gets funneled through his family. And they start offshore accounts and LLCs and their grandkids' names, and that's politicians. That's old. That's what he's up to. Now, it's a unique twist that he accuses everyone else of being a liar and then explaining that he's just Scranton Joe, six-pack, Scranton Joe, coming back, reeling it back toward dignity and sanity and honesty. That's the ironic part, that he's trying to paint himself as that. But what he's doing is what he's doing. What the FBI is doing is what the FBI does. What the journalists, LA Times, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, they're just doing what they do. Everyone's just doing what they do. But the big question is the people. Why don't the people know what's going on, whether it's this or COVID? There's a lot of, we didn't know at the time. And then I would explain, how did I know? How did I know? What do you mean we didn't know? Look it up, figure it out, put some thoughts together. Be a little like when Tony Bobulinski pops up, go, well, who is this guy? Is a Russian plant? Cat's paw? Actor? Is he related to Trump? Like, do a little bit of thinking and a little bit of work, because ultimately we can talk all we want about the deep state and these corrupt institutions and how journalism has died 1,000 deaths. But if nobody gives a shit, then it's just gone. I mean, that's kind of what it is. Like, Biden is corrupt. He's a liar. And he's been doing every single thing that you accused his opponent of doing, but you could never prove it. But we can prove it with Biden, except for nobody cares.
I guess I would say two things about that. Number one, propaganda is a science that has been developed over time by people who understand how humans' brains work. These are people who have studied the art of propaganda, and it can be very effective, especially if you have coordinated messaging between the government, between mass media, and that's exactly what we have. And so I get the idea, like, hey, you should think critically, you should look at and do some of this research yourself. The problem is, and I know before I was doing journalism, I was acting, I was working as a lawyer and had a lot of things going on in my life. A lot of people just don't have the time to do that. They don't have the energy. They're struggling to raise their kids, to make ends meet. They're working at 2 jobs. So I get why it's hard for people to just stop and think critically and look things up. But I will say that, and I think this is the most encouraging trend in American political life, is that people now do instinctively distrust what they're hearing from the media. Let me just give you one example that I find so amazing. Basically, the number one media narrative about Donald Trump ever since he descended the escalator, talked about immigration and the wall, and then began to become a viable candidate based on that, is that Trump is a racist, a white supremacist, a fascist. This is every day, this is the narrative that is embedded in media discourse everywhere. And after hearing this for 8 years, you have huge numbers, about millions of people, of non-white voters who have been imprisoned within the Democratic Party for generations, who are, despite being told over and over that Donald Trump is a white supremacist and wants to put them all in camps, are migrating away from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party primarily because of Donald Trump. And that is a reflection of this extreme skepticism that people are now developing. And then at the same time, more and more people aren't just listening to those media, that corporate media anymore. They now have these alternative narratives that come from independent media, which is not small. Like maybe 30 years ago, the only independent media was some community, news station that 100 people watch with very low production values. Now, some of the most watched, most influential voices in our political life don't work for these media corporations and are very skeptical of them and do offer alternative viewpoints, which is why I think the only reason that Donald Trump has a chance to win this election, and the polling, is certainly clear that it's a close election. Maybe he's even a little favorite, despite how much every center of power in the United States hates him, beginning with the media, is because people have tuned them out. They realize they're being lied to, and they seek information elsewhere on the internet, which again is the reason why they're so eager to be able to censor the internet, to gain control of the internet, why Elon Musk is public enemy number one, because he refuses to comply with censorship orders. They know how dangerous the internet is to their ability to control and manipulate people, and that's why they're waging a war on it.
Well, to bolster your point, if 93% of traditional or mainstream media is anti-Trump and 95% is pro-Kamala Harris, and yet it's a coin toss at this point, then that means they're not being effective. I might argue that it was a higher percentage outside of the mainstream media, podcasts and whatnot, Substack and everything else, X and everything else. I don't know if you could even venture a guess, Rumble. I don't know if you could venture a guess at what the percentages were outside of mainstream media. I would think it would be pro-Trump, but it wouldn't be 93% like it is negative, or 95 for Kamala or whatever. I'm screwing my numbers up a little, but it is almost 100% negative for Trump in legacy media. Outside of legacy media, is it a 65-35 type thing, positive Trump, or what's your head on that?
No, it's a good point. And I do think we should be a little bit careful when we celebrate the demise of corporate media that we not declare them dead before they're actually dead. They still do have a lot of influence. I mean, you can't be somewhere without hearing CBS on or CNN on. You're forced to listen to them if you're in an airport or in a public place.
Right.
They, shape narratives that your neighbors listen to and then talk to you about. There's no way. They do still exercise influence. And although you're right that independent media, there's a lot of independent media that's just as pro-Kamala as the corporate media. I don't even know why they bother. But I think what independent media does more than anything else, even if they're not fully pro-Trump, like just take Joe Rogan as an example, he's not fully pro-Trump. He was happy to have Kamala on his show. He said Bernie Sanders was the best candidate in 2020. But just the fact that there's a different kind of conversation, a conversation that says, we're not here to drum into your head this narrative. We're going to be open-minded. We want to figure out the truth. I think it's not so much that you need to have a corresponding pro-Trump messaging coming from independent media, just the fact that independent media is liberating people from how corporate media talks about politics, of how they encourage people to think or not to think critically, just so that people don't feel like they're alone. It gives people this sense of community that, no, I'm not crazy because this all sounds bizarre to me. There's this whole other gigantic world out there of other people who, even if they're not totally pro-Trump, understand the bullshit that is constantly being spewed at us. And I think that has opened people's minds and made them think more critically.
Well, Glenn, I know you got a heart out, and I respect it, but I want to give you a plug. On Rumble, System Update with Glenn Greenwald is where you go. Weeknights, 7 p.m. Eastern, on Rumble. Just one of the great voices out there, and they're many others that have emerged really sort of with COVID, I think really was sort of the rain that these little seeds needed to push up through the earth. I feel like there was a lot of people out there and a lot of people thinking a lot of stuff, but COVID just brought out a lot of really great voices. So with all the negative that came from COVID, I think ultimately there's some positive, and that positive is a lot of voices speaking out and coming out. Glenn's one of them. So it's always good to hear from you, my friend.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
I agree, and we'll talk to you very soon. All right.
That'd be great.
I want to thank Craig Shoemaker for coming in. Not Mocker, Maker. We got live shows coming out with him. Glenn Greenwald, obviously, there's me. I'm going to be in Las Vegas doing stand-up November 14th. Got a couple of shows over there. Big Bear coming up. Oxnard Levity Live, Houston, Phoenix, Solana Beach. Just go to adamcarolla.com. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla saying mahalo.